Right, I'm in Inverness, capital of the Highlands. With me, Davy the Ghost. You do, amongst other things, ghost tours around Inverness.
What else is it to do when you're dead?
Well, how long have you been dead?
174 years.
That's quite a long time. And still haunting?
Visiting.
Well, that's what it's all about. So, come on, tell us all about it. What have you got? It's steeped in it, isn't it? I mean, the Highlands...
Well, Inverness, the hub of the Highlands, the mysterious place, the Great Fault.
Yeah.
The most haunted town in Britain.
In Britain?
In Britain.
Really?
And I can say that quite safely, because we've got at least 6 or 7 active ghosts at the moment, seen by many people.
Here? In Inverness?
In Inverness itself.
Wow. Tell me, have you got...
Well, one of the most haunted places is the Inverness Telephone Exchange.
Really?
They believe they've got a black lady. It's not a black lady, it's a black friar. Because that telephone exchange is actually built on the spot in the old friary. The friary was built in 1233. It was abandoned in the 16th century. Now on the top floor of the new telephone exchange, when I say new, it's 50 years old.
Right.
But on the top floor, seen by many, many people, is what they think is an old woman just wandering along, and she disappears.
Yep.
I'm perfectly sure that that is actually one of the old friars caught in the watchtower.
Yes.
And he's been seen by many, many people.
Is he, what colour habit is he wearing?
Black.
Black. So probably Dominican or something like that.
Well, Dominican, but black friars were of variations.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Amazing.
an interesting spot, because if you go there at the back here, Inverness Council, being Inverness Council, put a plaque up to tell you that's where the grey friars were. But
They are.
They were black friars.
That's a good one. So now this over here, a marvellous view down the
Black
River
Isle.
Ness.
Well, the River Ness, the Black Isle. And the name Black Isle is said to come from the witchcraft.
Right.
Now, Scotland had a shocking history of witchcraft.
I know, you used to burn them as well, not hang them, didn't you?
There was nothing beats a good barbecue. And some of them were actually cooked on the Black Isle in the 17th century.
Really?
And that's where people believe the name comes from. Black Isle, black magic.
Of course, yeah. And the Ness?
I'll give you a story about the Ness.
Yes, please.
Behind me is the River Ness. Now, the River Ness is famous because that's the very first... I'll let you hold that. That's
Thank you
the
very
very
much.
first place
Yes.
the Loch Ness Monster was ever seen.
In the river?
In the river. In the year 563, St. Columba came to Scotland to bring Christianity. Columba was a warrior. He'd go about converting people, and if they didn't convert, he killed them. So most people decided to convert. And when he came to Inverness in 565, he came to the River Ness, and he was just about to get in the water and swim to the other side, when one of the locals came running out and said to him, "Hey boy, you go in that water, and a dirty great beast will come up and eat you." Well, Columba was a brave man, so he sent another man in the water, and he told him to swim to the other side. Well, sure enough, as the man got halfway across the water, up rose this huge monster. Well, Columba ran forward, held up his crucifix, and he said, "Go away, you nasty beast." And it did go away, but it didn't go very far. It went 4 miles up the river to Loch Ness, and it's been there for the last 1,500 years, so it's due its pension shortly. However, the people of Inverness had a much better use for the River Ness, because Scotland had the worst history in the whole of Europe for witchcraft and demonology. In fact, between 1479 and 1722, we burnt 17,000 witches.
That's a lot of people.
Now, in those days, if someone accused you of being a witch, you're a witch! You had to prove your innocence. Either way, you lost. Now they would take you down to the river, and they would tie this thumb to that toe, vice versa, pick you up, and throw you right into the deepest part. And if you drowned, sorry, you're innocent, go home. However, if you floated, you were guilty, and you'd be taken away and burnt. A very fair system. Now, in those days, there wasn't any central heating, so the women wore lots of clothes and large skirts.
Yep.
And when they were thrown into the water, there's something created an air pocket, and it would pop right back up. Well, the first thing that would happen there was the husband would run forward with a large pole, and he would hold his wife under the water till she drowned. The reason for that was simple. As I said, if she floated, she was guilty, and he'd be an associate to witchcraft, and he'd be burnt, and he wasn't going to have that, was he?
Wow.
Now,
Didn't know that.
do you know what they actually did with the witches? Well, let me just give you an example of one family. In 1595, they brought the Balfour family from the Orkney Isles down here, and they tortured them for the crimes of witchcraft. The youngest member of the family, the daughter, who was just 7 years old, had the pennywinks applied, the thumb screws. And the thumb screws were always based here, at the base of the nail, thus being the most sensitive part. And then they were tightened. And tightened. And tightened until the thumb exploded. The brother was placed to the boot. The boot was placed round the calf of the leg at such an angle, when large wedges were driven in, the foot would crush, the blood would spurt out, not only the blood, the very bone marrow itself. the mother was placed to the vice. With the vice, the hands were tied round the back at such an angle, when she was hoisted to the ceiling, the shoulders were dislocated, then large weights were tied round her ankles, and she was left hanging like that for 2 days and 2 nights. The father was pressed to death. With pressing, you were tied very tight to a rack. A board was placed on the chest, and weights were added one at a time, so each rib would crack, until the final weight was added, and the entire rib cage would collapse inwardly, piercing the very body organs themselves. And this was only one family. Other than that, witchcraft, not a problem.
So basically, Davey, that's one of the reasons that you've got so many ghosts. You've got so many tormented souls, basically.
Well,
yeah?
I don't know if they're tormented souls. They could keep me quite happy in their hauntings.
Well, true. Now look, you do these throughout the year, I presume? Tours around...
365 days a year.
Really?
Ghosts don't get a day off.
And how can they, if people want to come, because they will want to come on one of your ghost walks, I can assure you, when they've heard this, how can they get in touch?
Well,
Tourist information?
They can phone me, they can go to Tourist Information Centre, or they can phone me and book, or they can email me. Being a ghost, unfortunately, I've had to start hunting the net.
Of course. Davey, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for telling me just a few of the stories that you feature on the walk. Right. And I don't know whether I can grasp your hand being a ghost.
You can.
Or will I go through you? Will it?
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks ever so much.
Don't have any nightmares, will you?
I won't. And I'm now in the centre of Norwich. With me, Dave, Ghostly Dave, as they've nicknamed you in the newspapers, yeah? And of course you do the infamous, the famous Norwich Ghost Walk.
That's right.
And it starts and finishes here?
Yep, at the Adam and Eve.
And I presume there's a reason for that?
There is. The Adam and Eve is the most haunted pub in the city.
Right.
Haunted by a guy by the name of Lord Sheffield.
Yes.
Now, if you know your history, you'll know that shortly before Henry VIII died, he passed a law which stopped the local people from grazing their cattle on common land. Not too popular, as you can imagine.
Yep.
There's riots up and down the country. And the biggest riot of all in the entire country took place here in Norwich.
Really?
A guy by the name of Robert Kett, who, believe it or not, was a landowner himself. But anyway, he marched into Norwich to overthrow the law, and a lot of people think he marched to Norwich to actually bring down the king.
Right.
The king sent an army led by Lord Sheffield to throw Robert Kett back out of the city. They met just on this road here. You imagine Lord Sheffield and his army in one direction, Robert Kett and his men in the opposite.
Right.
A battle broke out, and during the course of the battle, Lord Sheffield realised he was going to lose it. So he did the only thing he could think of, took off his helmet, revealed his identity, thinking he'd be taken a famous hostage. But unfortunate, there's a guy, a butcher by the name of Folks, and he decided he'd rather have a famous scalp than a famous hostage. And with his meat cleaver, he hacked Lord Sheffield across the side of the neck. Sheffield fell dying to the floor, just on the corner there. The rest of the king's men fled. Robert Kett and his army went back to the hills. King's men came back, picked up their leader, who was barely alive, carried him into the Adam and Eve. That's where he died.
In this, so this was here, all those...
Pub. Yeah, this pub has been here for 1249 it was built. Oldest pub
My
in the city.
goodness.
Ever since he's died, he's been seen wandering around up and down this area, up and down the stones, and inside the pub itself. If you ask the landlord, or ask the young girls who work behind the bar, they'll all tell you at one time or another, walking up the stairs, maybe carrying a box of crisps, crate of ale, somebody runs their finger through their hair. They don't even bat an eyelid anymore. It's like an old friend of the family. And we've got some tankards hanging up in the downstairs bar. Very often when the pub's almost empty, these tankards will just suddenly start to sway from side to side. No wind, no doors open, but they just sway. And if you stop them, they start swaying again. A couple of years ago we were in the bar, and one of them started to drip. There's about 9 people in the bar, and a young girl behind it. And we all watched as it dripped and splashed on the counter. And finally we went over to see what it was. Not only was that counter absolutely bone dry, so was the tankard, and we'd all watch it drip from one to the other. That's the work, Lord Sheffield.
Wow. I say. You don't think it was his blood dripping then, or something like that?
I hope it wasn't. If it was, he's lost quite a lot by now.
So it's an ideal place, of course, to start the walks from.
As it is, yeah.
Yeah. But you've got somewhere else that you can take us, show us something
I
of...
can take you and show you the young lady we call the saddest ghost in the city. She's also known as the Lady in Grey, and she has a very, very sad story to tell.
Really? Shall we go and have a look?
That's why not.
Great, thank you. This way? Right. Right, now, I presume on the left of me here, Norwich Cathedral.
Cathedral, yeah.
Yeah, and this... I've never seen anything like...
Building, isn't it?
It's called Toonland Alley.
Yeah, Toonland Alley. But even the locals don't know this exists though. People we bring down here who've lived in Norwich all their lives say, never knew this alleyway was here.
Yes, I get
People
similar.
just walk straight past it.
It's amazing.
It's a lovely house.
But how old is it?
1549, and by coincidence, it's the very house that Lord Sheffield stayed in the night before he went on to be killed by Robert Kett.
Good grief.
Yeah, the very house.
Absolutely amazing. And another church here, of course.
Yeah, this is the church. This is where we used to have a rather swift punishment for our looters, the plague victims. If you were caught looting the victim of a plague... If you were caught looting a plague victim, you were taken to this church, taken to the top of the battlements. You had your hands tied behind your back, your legs tied together, and then you were dropped head first to land, just in front of those wooden doors.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely, wasn't it?
And then buried in the plague pit there.
With the rest of them.
Fantastic. Oh, I say. Now, have you got something else for me? You have, haven't you? I know you have.
And I can tell you the story about Sarah.
Right.
The saddest ghost in the city. She's also known as the Lady in Grey. Now, as you may know, when we used to have the plague visit the city, so everybody in the house that died from the plague, the bailiffs would come along and lock the doors, bolt all the doors, cover all the windows, put big red crosses all over the paintwork and leave the dead bodies inside.
Yeah.
That was so that they wouldn't spread the plague any further. Well, we had a really bad plague in Norwich, 1578, brought to the city by Queen Elizabeth I.
Right.
Sure enough, everybody in this house had died of the plague.
Right.
So they thought. Along came the bailiffs, covered over all these windows, bolted all the doors, big red crosses everywhere, went away for 5 or 6 weeks.
Yep.
When they came back 5 or 6 weeks later, they found something rather awful. The young girl who had lived in this house with her parents and servants had in fact been alive when they locked her inside. Now just imagine how she must have felt when she woke up to find herself in a house locked and bolted from the outside, all the windows boarded over, a house with nothing to eat, nothing to drink, no food or water. She must have known she was going to die.
Yeah.
Sure enough she did. The way she died was rather horrific. When they came back, the bailiffs, and dragged all the bodies out, they found unusual marks on the legs of the mother, the father, teeth marks. But not teeth marks made by the rats that used to run through these houses. These were human teeth marks. When they examined the rest of the bodies, they found bits and pieces of dead flesh jammed in the throat of the young girl we now call the Lady in Grey. She'd actually choked to death trying to eat the flesh of her own parents' legs. That's why we say she is the saddest ghost in the city, and why very often she can still be seen wandering all around Augustine Stewart House, up and down this alleyway, and even the vicar of the church here has told me through the church itself, through one door and out the other. What a sad lady.
What a story. And of course, lots and lots more stories on the Norwich Ghost
Lots
Walk.
of stories. We have so many stories, we do 2 different walks during the course of the week. We can't get them all in on one night.
Really?
Yeah.
And when do you do them, Dave?
We do the walks, we start in May, the first bank holiday in May. We go right through to the end of September. We do them 4 nights a week. The Monday and Tuesday walk is the same, the Wednesday and Thursday walk is the same. Then we have a very short break, and then we come back for what we call our Halloween specials, which are totally different to other walks.
Yeah.
The facts and go out the window and fiction comes in. It's just a case of making people jump as much as we can.
Well, that's what people like.
They do like it. It's good fun.
Amazing. And how do they book?
They don't need to book for the actual ghost walks. They just turn up at the pub on the night of the Adam and Eve.
Oh, I see.
We sell tickets for the Halloween walks, but we have to keep the numbers down because of certain places we go on that one. They can buy those either on the night or at the pub on the walks.
Fantastic. Dave, it's been a privilege to wander around a city as ancient as this. I've never seen anything like it. I'm absolutely gobsmacked that there's so many old buildings left.
Yeah, and all got a story.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Right, well, I'm literally right underneath the South Bridge in the centre of Edinburgh. With me is Fran.
Hello.
Fran, you are historian, storyteller, assistant director for Mercat Tours.
That's right, yes, I am indeed, and I've been down here many, many times before, so
Well, this is my first time, so
I'll be gentle with you.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
This is really quite something. I've never seen anything quite like it before.
It's very atmospheric, isn't
What is it?
it? Well, what we're actually going into now is a set of underground vaults
Yeah.
beneath the South Bridge. Now, they were built at the same time as the bridge in the 18th century,
Yes.
but they were divided up and used as workshops and as storage areas and as houses for people who had businesses on the bridge. So at one point there would have been maybe 100, 200 people working and living
Down here?
down here, and it was always underground. It was never on street level.
I see. And so this would be... There'd be lots and lots of houses and businesses above us.
Yep.
And this is the lowest level.
Exactly. Yeah, we're about 3 levels below the bridge level, the street level, where all the houses and the shops are now. But underneath that is what we're just about to go and see.
Right. Do you want to lead on?
Shall we?
Yes, please.
Let's go.
It's so extensive.
Bit of a rabbit warren, isn't it?
Just a bit, yeah. I would imagine that you wouldn't send people down here on their own because they'd
Oh, good Lord, no.
quite easily get
We've always
lost.
told you to never wander off alone. Because
Wow.
it's a labyrinth and we might not ever find you again.
And look look at it stretching right down. There, my goodness. What's this?
This is one of the largest rooms. It's actually one room on top of another, ceiling missing, but it gives you a very good idea of the structure of the bridge.
Yeah.
Because way up through that gap is the arch of the bridge itself. There are 19 stone arches that hold up the South Bridge, and that's what we're underneath at the moment.
And that's literally up here.
All the way up there.
Wow.
And most of the vaults were built of stone, but a lot of the ceilings were built of brick, which is quite unusual for the 18th century. You know, when we first started coming down here on our ghost tours, we told people good, old-fashioned, traditional Edinburgh ghost stories.
Yes, yeah.
About 6 weeks after we started coming down here, somebody said they saw something. And it's just gone on from there. Hardly a week goes by without somebody saying that they've felt or heard or seen a ghost.
So you've disturbed something that's probably been lying dormant for a couple of hundred years, if you like.
These rooms were closed off in about 1815, and they were
Right.
not discovered again until a few years ago. So nearly 200 years these rooms have been abandoned and empty. And perhaps, yes, perhaps we have stirred them up a little bit.
Yeah.
But lots of people claim to have seen things. This is one of the more active rooms.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Anywhere in particular? Because I do just happen to have an EMF meter with me, which of course is supposedly detects electromagnetic fields. So, who knows? There's no electricity down here, of course. Absolutely nothing. So if we were to pick anything up, it would be somebody's electromagnetic field, but I think he's out. I don't think he's here today. But of course you must remember that ghosts don't appear to audiences.
They don't perform on demand, do they?
No,
No.
very much so. But we'll try elsewhere.
I think we should. You might like to try in that corner again.
Okay.
See what happens. I've never seen one of these before. So.
It's an electromagnetic field detector. Now, there's something, but I mean, it could. I mean, there are. I must be honest. There's an electric cable above, so it could well be. But has anybody been seen there?
Oh yes.
Oh, really?
That's why I wanted to see if there was anything on there before I told you. I'm so sneaky, aren't I?
No, that's what it's all about. Really.
Yes.
And of course, I've never been down here before, and I didn't even know it existed.
No, you haven't.
So, and what's been seen there?
There's a lady in that corner. She's really more. She's been described more as an elemental than a ghost. She's a very angry, very bitter spirit, and she's more energy than
Really?
she is.
Yes. Oh, I wonder.
And she's fixed to her spot.
Yes.
And she makes her presence known. If somebody actually, you know, it has been known for people to stand in that corner and get a jab or a shove, because
Really.
she's been described as the most powerful spirit.
Dare I do it?
But she can't go anywhere. She can't move. She can't get out, and she's very angry. She's not happy with you at all. So.
No, I can't say anything. But as I said earlier, I don't see dead people. Excuse me.
Got something?
Well, there looks like seems to be a pit or a hole of some sort. No.
Wow. Well, there's no electric power cables in here at all. There's no electric light in this room. There's no power source nearby.
Can't see any cables. There's a candle, and it won't be that. Is this a haunted room, or?
Yes, people do claim to have seen things in here, and this was, we think, a caretaker or a security guard's room.
Right.
But quite a lot of people claim to have felt or seen.
But I mean, there's a distinct sort of hole, or
Yes. There is, yes. We think that the person who worked here had a midden.
which is a rubbish tip, of course, a rubbish pit, I presume. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah. We found bits of broken bone and broken pot and just scraps and bits and pieces of, well, just life, really. Somebody's rubbish thrown into the corner.
So someone that spent a lot of time in here,
Yeah.
lived in here almost.
I would say so, given that there's a fireplace.
Oh, yes, of course.
It's not an industrial fireplace. It's not.
No, it's not, is it?
Used for a foundry or a bread oven
No,
or anything.
no.
It's a domestic fireplace. You're right. I think somebody either lived in here or spent a lot of time in this particular room. So we've had quite a lot of people claim to feel heat coming from the fireplace. And some people have felt it quite strongly to the point where they've had to move away from the fire because it's burning their leg. There's also, well, I would be lying if I said lots of people have seen the guard. I think about 2 or 3 people claim to have seen a man, but a lot of people claim to have seen his little friend.
Really?
He has a companion, 4 legs and a tail, who runs around the vaults going woof.
Oh, the ghost of a dog.
It's a very friendly dog. It's not very. If it's a guard dog, it's not a very good guard dog.
Really?
He's very affectionate. We think it's just a friend, a companion, a pet. But he runs around the vaults. But we think he belongs in here, but he does run about all over the place. If you do feel something furry,
brush past your feet, leg, it's him, is it?
Give it a pat, yes.
I will do just that, yeah. But I hope I
maybe
don't.
it's him sitting in the corner, I don't know.
Could be, couldn't it? Amazing that was. Right.
That's strange.
And to the left?
Yes. You lose your sense of direction.
I know, that's exactly, well, it's so big, it's so extensive
Disorientating.
that I sort of, you know, you'd soon get yourself lost down here, wouldn't you? We're standing in the centre of Edinburgh. This is the Mercat Cross. I've heard a lot about it. It's obviously to do with executions and beheadings, but Fran, can you tell me more about it?
Indeed. The company that I work for is called Mercat Tours because we start all our tours at the Mercat Cross. It's really the traditional heart of the old city of Edinburgh. We're standing right in the middle of the old town. One of the theories as to why Edinburgh has so many ghosts is that it has so many old buildings still standing. We're very lucky that we have so many old houses and medieval buildings that are still here, and it's said that there are more ghosts here than any other place in Scotland because of that, because of the age of the buildings. The Mercat Cross, as you quite rightly point out, was used for executions. It was the marketplace. Mercat means the market. This is where merchants traded. It's also where they made proclamations. From the top of the cross there, the heralds would come along and announce the news. But people of Edinburgh came here more than anything else to be entertained, and this would come in the form of punishments. For example, if you were a merchant and you'd given somebody the wrong change, you'd given them, short-changed them, your hands would be taken and it would be nailed to the door of the Mercat Cross.
Right.
You'd have to stand there for half an hour or the morning or 2 days or however long your punishment happens to be. We also have a story that we tell here which involves a whip. A cat o' nine tails to be exact. And we reenact a punishment at the Mercat Cross that happened to 2 Englishmen in the 17th century. It's a very nasty story, but you have to come out late at night to hear that one.
Of course.
It's scary. But my favourite one was the one called the Branks, which was a big metal brace that fitted over the head with a spike that went into your mouth. And it was reserved for nagging women.
Oh yes, and we have a scold's bridle in England.
It's very similar to the scold's bridle, that's right. Or if women were gossiping about their friends, then they would put them in the bridle as well. And the main, if you were obviously an ordinary peasant, all sorts of tortures and executions, but if you were a member of the nobility, you were granted the gift of having your head chopped off. And this was done by the maiden, which was it's like a guillotine, but it had a flat blade. So it usually took about 2 or 3 goes before they finally managed to sever those final different
So they'd have to, would it be sort of hoisted similar to a guillotine, dropped, and then dropped again, and then dropped again to make...
Until eventually the head would be hacked off.
Goodness.
It was unbelievably brutal.
Yes, indeed,
So it's no wonder that there's
so many tormented souls, I would imagine, wandering around this area.
Exactly,
Amazing. That is super. Thank you. We're in Londonderry. With me is Tommy Carlin, who is a guide for the city. You do ghost walks, of course, as well as ordinary ones, hence the fact we're here. And we're in a strange place, a rather interesting start. We're actually at the local workhouse.
We are, yes.
And these are the original steps?
This is the original entrance to the workhouse here.
Gosh.
And people came here, entered the workhouse up these steps, which are 13 steps.
Oh no.
Yes, 13 steps.
Right.
Very famous ones here because this is where people came into. The building just behind was the reception area for the workhouse itself. When they get into this building and through the doors here, they were separate by gender and by age as well. And boys to the right, girls to the left, this one. But anyone who was punished, there were 2 punishment rooms here as well, again separate, just inside.
That's in this building?
This building here, which is now an office of a local building supply.
Right.
And this window here, to the right of the door, was into where this punishment area was.
Yes.
And in the time it was being used here, there were 2 children were punished for some misdeed or other.
Yeah.
And the matron of the workhouse, she put them in the building one Friday afternoon apparently.
Yes.
And she locked them in for an indefinite period.
Right.
But she forgot to tell the rest of the people who come in here at the weekend they were there. And no one was in the reception area at all during the weekend. Come back Monday morning, the 2 children were found dead in this room from lack of oxygen as well.
Yeah.
And she was so overcome with remorse for this that she asked to be buried just here at the top of these steps. And this is where this matron...
Is that where she is buried?
This is where she's buried, here at the top of these steps.
The top of 13 steps?
At the top of the 13th step is where she's buried.
Oh my gosh.
And her ghost or apparition is often seen walking along this area here just above the road. People walking on the roadway just outside at night will often see this long grey coated figure walk along this particular area here.
So she's quite a famous landmark in Derry.
She's very well known here in the city. The matron buried at the top of the 13th step.
Well.
And as was a sort of remorse and regret that she had caused the children's death, she asked to be buried as near where they died as possible.
My goodness.
That was her request.
Fantastic. And is there more inside? Can we have a look
inside? Behind this area was the main dormitory area.
Yep.
In the top floor of that, we'll go and have a look at that.
Oh yes.
That's where the children's dormitory was, and again related to the 2 children who died.
Fine.
Here in this.
Lead on.
Okay, just around the corner.
Right, now Tommy, this is the Workhouse Museum.
Yes.
But this of course was the real workhouse.
This upper floor of the workhouse was the dormitory for the children here.
Yeah.
And this is where, as I say, they were separated in the reception area. Even here they were still separate, and over to our right behind there was the girls' dormitory.
Yeah.
And then over behind this here, through this door and staircase, was the boys' dormitory. And even then there's still separate staircases up to here. So
really? So they were completely segregated?
Completely segregated.
All the time? Or?
All the time, completely segregated. The only time that they met together was a church service on a Sunday, and there were different denominations had different times for the services. Wow. And even their separate aisles were for men and women. Yeah. And the back of the church was again separate, boys and girls, and they never really were allowed to meet. Just a little.
So they could wave to each other.
Just a little wave to each other.
Can we have a look in there?
We can have a look in there. Before that, perhaps we will look at this device. You see this box here.
What is it?
It's really the hearse or coffin, and this was used here during the famine times. And often 3 or 4 bodies were put in that, taken out on a cart, taken to the nearest cemetery, and you see how it looked on top of this little cone piece. There was a little pennant put there, either black and white, depending on whether the bodies were male or female.
My goodness me! And how did they get them out?
Well, at this end of it here, there was a door here, really, just a flap on this one.
Oh, here. This
here, yes.
Yeah. So that opened. Oh, it's hinged. That came open. Yeah.
The cart was tipped up on hooked from the donkey. The cart tipped up and the body simply fell out of that door
into a pit.
It was called a famine pit. Adults, they've been 2 or 3 when they were children, often 4 or 5 children, and not together. Because that depended on what deaths there were discovered each morning in the workhouse. This is during the famine time.
Wow! And you've got a representation in here of what it looked like.
Of what this area looked like. This dormitory looked like.
Yeah.
See the stairs here again were for.
Yeah, these are segregated. Children, boys one side.
The girls this side.
Oh, say, yeah. Wow. And this young lady, I presume she's dead?
Yes, and it's a representation really of what often happened. Children were born here, and this lady would have died in childbirth.
Good grief.
And the doctor here,
in
the centre aisle, would have been signing her death certificate.
Yeah.
At that time, and the aisle itself was really the toilet here, because this little channel running along here was laid each day with fresh straw.
Yep.
Used at night time as a toilet.
Yep.
And at the very far end, you can't see in the darkness, there was a door there out onto the gable wall of the building.
Yep.
And beneath that, they would have had a cart where all this material was swept out this morning to that.
And
fresh straw laid
goodness,
the rest of the day this time.
Tell me, I mean, how many people? We don't know how many people. We're talking hundreds, thousands of people that would have died
to hold 800 people.
Yeah.
And in the 4 years before the famine, there was only 60 or 70 people. They used it because of the connection with the workhouse and poverty. But by the end of the famine in 1849, there were 1,200 people here.
My God. Do you know, there's a strange sensation in here. Well, there's got to be, when you think about it.
All sorts of stories about this building here. And this area.
Well, when you think of the number of people that have died under tormented conditions in here, that's obviously. I mean, obviously there are ghost stories up here.
Ghost stories as well, and as I said, often and people who even work here today, the staff in this museum, will often tell you that they often hear footsteps of groups of people walking along here. They come to investigate. There's absolutely nothing to be seen.
Gosh.
And we had one local gentleman from the local press here volunteered to stay one night here as well. He, at 4:45 in the morning, he fled the building.
Oh my God.
Because of the noises and the feelings. And even when he sat down, he felt a pressure on his shoulders of a presence being in the room with him as well. And he had done many visits like this. This was the most eerie and dreadful place he was ever in.
Now, your wife also had experiences here.
She did. She, for a time, this workhouse was used as a general hospital here, and she worked as a nurse here. And often when she came in to visit some old people in some of what were the wards on the lower floor, they told her that the nurse had already been.
Yep.
So, in question, they told her the nurse that was there was tall, had a long grey dress, and had a funny little white hat on her head as well. And she had tended to them before my wife had ever come to them. This was always at night time.
Yeah.
And she often felt a strange presence around here as well. And often when she'd come here, she'd see lights in windows that rooms were not occupied, and yet when you got there was no light to be seen.
So this is a very haunted place.
This is one very haunted building.
Tommy, tell me, you make an awful lot of Halloween here in Londonderry.
We do. Halloween is one of, in fact, the biggest festival we have here from the point of view of bringing people into the city. And Halloween night itself, we have 35,000 people would be on the streets. All of them in fancy dresses like ghosts and ghouls, and others policemen, soldiers, whatever you can think of. And you get themes from time to time as well. For example, when you had last year, Harry Potter was on the big theme. Lots of Harry Potters and wizards about as well. And it starts with a firework display on the river. All the families gather each at the river for that. And after that, there's music performances in the city centre all around. And then as the night grows older, it's a more adult thing, and it's the bars really benefit from that. And each bar would have a competition for the best costume that night. So for months before, already this time of year, early on the summer here, there are people designing costumes for Halloween night.
And you do ghost tours?
And the whole week before Halloween, I do ghost tours right around the city, and buildings like this, other little stories as well of other buildings that are haunted, areas of the city that are haunted as well. And the ghost tour takes an hour and a half to do.
Yeah, and you can book it.
We always start at the Tourist Information Centre, and the tours go right around the city each night. Often we have maybe 4 tours per night because it's such a popular event here. And normally begins exactly a week before Halloween night.
So if you want a haunted place to come in Great Britain for Halloween, you need to come
this is where
to Londonderry.
Yes, this is the place to be.
Fantastic.
If you want frightened for Halloween,
come to Londonderry.
I'm here on Halloween week and Halloween night.
Tommy, that's been fantastic. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay.